The Toronto Maple Leafs are making multiple moves as we have some breaking news to go over today as ahead of one of the biggest games, the biggest game in the past decade for this team. There has been absolute mayhem surrounding this Toronto Maple Leafs team this afternoon as it pertains to the moves they are going to make. We're going to break down exactly what those moves are and discuss an Elliot Friedman bomb that was dropped this afternoon. We also have multiple updates from the Leafs side and the Panthers side, a ton to go over today. And a couple of these moves are going to have you guys fired up, so you're going to want to stay tuned for all of it. But before we get into it, we are just a few subscribers away, less than 30 subscribers away from 18,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 20 subscribers away now. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the Daily Leafs content. You guys are beasts, and we'll be live following tonight's game, hopefully celebrating a Leafs win for the first time in a few games. Darius, it's been a little bit hectic this afternoon because a bunch of not necessarily conflicting reports, but the amount of news that has come out has been a little bit crazy. And let's start with, you saw a little bit tidbit there. Let's start with, of course, OEL. He is going to be available to play after missing yesterday's practice due to being sick. But, that's obviously great news, kind of expected here. Let's just dive right into the craziness that was this afternoon. You can see this here. The Leafs pulled most of their players off of the ice at the optional skate, hinting at lineup changes for Game 5. And then after that, it came out that David Kampf is not on the ice for the Leafs optional skate, and a bunch of different reports were flying who's going to be missing. And then it came out that Craig Berube is keeping it close to the chest and that he has some game time decisions that aren't injury related. And then this kind of stirred up a bunch of rumors. Is it going to be Bobby McMann? Is it going to be all these different guys? And then there's been a big report coming out from Elliot Friedman just a little bit ago that Nick Robertson and David Kampf are going to be playing. That is his guess. And you have to assume if he's tweeting this out, he knows the impact this is going to have. He has to know that these two guys are coming in. So Robertson and Kampf in. And who's going to be out, we'll dive into in a little bit here. We have some ideas based on reports. But Darius, Robertson and David Kampf are expected to play tonight, which is, a little bit crazy.
Yeah, a little bit crazy, but at the same time, if you look at the Florida Panthers when they were heading home for Game 3, they changed their entire fourth line. They made a bunch of lineup changes, and it's worked for them the last two games. They've won both games, right? So maybe it's the Leafs' turn to do that, and hopefully these changes turn out well. And if they don't, then obviously that's going to be the talk tomorrow. What a terrible decision. But I have all the faith in the world in the Toronto Maple Leafs right now and Craig Berube, because the last time he made a interesting decision that maybe I disagreed with, it was Max Pacioretty, and he kept him in the lineup, and he scored the series-winning goal against the Ottawa Senators. So clearly, Berube's onto something here. But we were talking about it yesterday. Like, it was status quo for the Maple Leafs. The lines were the same at their practice. And then I said, you know what? Don't be surprised if they're already thinking of lineup changes. And tomorrow morning, when Craig Berube wakes up, he's like, we're going to do this. And they're playing a little bit of mind games too. They didn't do any line rushes. It was an optional skate. Everybody left at the same time. So Florida has no idea who is coming in for sure, even though Elliot Friedman did say that he thinks. And anytime Friedman tweets out, like, he knows that's what's happening. So that's what's probably happening at this point. David Kampf and Nick Robertson are coming back in. So it's going to be interesting to see, the dynamic of that, the impact, who's coming out, where they're playing. And I think the Florida Panthers are wondering the same thing right now as well. So I think that's good gamesmanship from Craig Berube and Leafs coaching staff there.
Yeah, this is a little bit, and he hasn't played, David Kampf, it is, in over a month. And obviously, we think about the Ottawa Senators series, at least Nick Robertson got a game or two in there. But for, of course, Craig Berube, again, he said there's game time decisions, not health related. He's keeping things close to his chest here. And he also addressed kind of a glaring issue. We discussed it in yesterday's video about the illness, and he says that nothing is going around as it pertains to a bug. I still think he's probably playing that down a little bit here, just given, the way that things have gone. But I want to touch back on this now. And of course, we've been talking about these game time decisions. I want to get your thoughts about who you think is going to be taken out. There was a lot of rumblings about Bobby McMann from, I believe it was Mark Masters or James Marner, someone like that. One of the reporters who were there hinted at least at the start of practice, prior to all this craziness coming out, that Bobby McMann was with, an interesting group. I want to get your thoughts on this. I could see a real world here, and let us know down below. It seems that my assumption would be Calle Jarnkrok and Bobby McMann might be the two that come out, or of course it could also go the more traditional route here with Calle Jarnkrok and Pontus Holmberg. But it's going to be interesting. We know Patches is going to stay in, but given the way and the players that are coming out, they're going to have to make some interesting decisions here. And Bobby McMann's name has been on the forefront of those.
Definitely. And I think McMann, if you look at him, he hasn't done much in these playoffs. And I know it's hard to kind of get into the rhythm, and it's his first playoffs ever, obviously, right? But he hasn't really done much on the offensive side of the puck, the defensive side. He hasn't done much. He isn't hunting pucks like he was. I mean, at certain points in games in this playoff run, he has, but he hasn't been good enough. So I do wonder if he's the man coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not as well, because he has a bigger body, and I wonder if Berube's like, one of these games he's finally going to break out and do something, right? But I just don't know if that's the case. We haven't seen it yet, and obviously Yarncroke at this point hasn't done enough for me. He looked good to start, but at this point in this series, he hasn't been enough of a difference maker. So taking him out specifically for David Kampf, I think is going to be actually a pretty good move, because Kampf hasn't played in over a month, but he's fresh. He's ready to go. I think he's 100% probably, right? Healed from whatever injury he was dealing with. Any bumps and bruises over the course of a season, I think that he's probably fine. So he's going to come in. He's going to be skating around like a rocket. Obviously, I don't know what he's going to be able to do offensively, but he's a good player at what he does. He's going to play on the penalty kill as well. Maybe you take Austin Matthews off because of that. So he's going to be playing less minutes, more time 5-on-5, more time on the power play. Maybe that'll make a difference as well, even though Matthews has been playing great defensively. But David Kampf being in the lineup, I think, just lengthens the lineup a little bit. Where is he going to fit? I don't know. He should probably be playing center. So I don't know what line that's on right now, because if now Nick Robertson comes in as well, and if that's for McMahon, that makes things a lot more interesting, because Pacioretty's still in the lineup, assuming Pacioretty's still in the lineup. I think he's played well enough to stay in the lineup. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out exactly. I would leave Holmberg in. I have to be honest. He's done enough for me defensively where I think you can leave him in, and he's been in the mix. Like, even though he was getting, ragdolled a little bit in one of the games earlier on in the series, he's been in the mix. He's been a factor, right? So at least he's been in the games and getting himself involved physically and what have you. And he's been pretty good defensively as well. So again, whether you agree with that or not, I think Berube sees that as well, and that's why he likes him so much, and that's why he's still in the lineup. So it's probably McMahon to send a message, probably Yarncroke. He hasn't done enough, and then the guys coming in, I think, can make an impact, but we'll see. This is a big game 5, almost a must-win at this point, because if you go down to Florida down 3-2, that is going to be tough.
Yeah, I think it's almost definitely Yarncroke, and we're going to dive into some other things as well here. And again, regarding the illness, there's nothing going around. It's just one and done here kind of thing, nothing going around. So take with that what you will. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. And you're seeing a couple things here. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this, Darius. You can see here, weighing a Matthews-Marner split in a bottom 6 shakeup. So this just dropped minutes ago from Jonas Siegel. Now, he's speculating and hinting at the idea, and I'm very curious to see what you guys think about it. We could be looking at not just a move to the bottom 6. Again, I'm pretty confident it's going to be Bobby McMahon and Calle Yarncroke. Maybe it's Pontus Holmberg and Calle Yarncroke. But regardless of that, a Matthews-Marner split is something that if they're actually going to hide lines, which they did this afternoon, this could be one of the reasons that they're doing that, because they don't want the Panthers to know about this bigger split. I'm very curious to see what your thoughts are. This would be a huge move and a gutsy one, to say the least, here if they split Matthews and Marner. But what are your thoughts on this? And let us know down below if you think this is going to be happening, because there's been some rumblings about it following the secret nature of what Craig Berube has done. Not that it's necessarily surprising that he's keeping the line secret, but if they have something bigger planned regarding a shakeup to Matthews and Marner, it would make a lot of sense, as opposed to if it's just a Calle Yarncroke swap.
So first of all, I don't think they're going to do that because of the matchup game. I think that would be too much of a change. But if they are going to do it, it has to be the big 3 on each getting their own line. So Matthews would be on the first line. You'd have Tavares and Marner or Nylander on the second line, and then Marner and Nylander would move down to the third line. That's the only way it would work in the matchup game for the Leafs. But again, the only way that makes sense to me is if each guy gets their own line. You can't swap Marner and Nylander at this point. The dynamic wouldn't work. As the years have gone on, I don't think Nylander plays well with Austin Matthews, because Nylander demands the puck as well. So I don't think it would work. And then switching that up, going against Florida with the matchup game and everything, I know you're on home ice, but it would just kind of mess things up for me, at least defensively. So you wouldn't have as strong of a first line, I think. Or you could get really crazy. You could put like Robertson in Marner's spot and drop Marner down to the second line, Nylander down to the third. Like, you can get really, really crazy. But why would you do that in a game 5? I feel like it's just little, changes that they're going to make in the third and fourth line that could pay off huge, right? Because Robertson's going to come in, on fire. We know that he does that. He responds well to scratching. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually does come out, because we have no idea. What if it is Pacioretty? I think he's played well enough to stay in, but we don't actually know at this point. So we know it's not one of the big names coming out of the lineup, but there could be a lot of lineup changes tonight.
Definitely a way. I mean, it's going to be crazy, and of course we'll cover it following the stream, but makes me very interested now. And of course, I'm with you. I don't think it's likely necessarily, but the fact that there's some articles being made and there's a bunch of different secretness going on, let us know down below what your thoughts are on that. One final thing before I wrap up, Paul Maurice. So you can see here, he was checking in with Evan Rodriguez again at the skate. He didn't take rushes with the regular line. Boquist with Barkov and Reinhardt. I mean, signs are pointing to him not playing, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if this is mind games kind of again, and they slide him in as a game time decision. But if he is out, of course, we want him to be healthy. It's pretty big for the Leafs as it pertains to, I mean, he's been almost a needle in the Leafs side here with how he's been playing, the physicality, all these different things, a couple dirty hits here and there. Any thoughts on this before we wrap up?
Yeah, he's a big difference maker. He was a big difference maker when they won the Stanley Cup last year, too.
We also have some breaking news that just dropped while recording. Of course, you just mentioned about Evan Rodriguez and how he's going to be a game time decision, all these different things, and about how they might just be playing games. They are not playing games. Evan Rodriguez has officially been ruled out for tonight's game. So, Darius, I'm going to get your thoughts once again. We just had your thoughts on what it's like if he doesn't, or if he did play. He is officially ruled out, and this has huge implications for this Toronto Maple Leafs team now. They need to take care of business against them, especially with Rodriguez out. Obviously, I wish him the best health-wise, but as it pertains to the Leafs, this is a very, very big update that just dropped seconds ago as of the time of recording.
Yeah, you never want to see somebody out of the game due to injury and stuff like that. But the Leafs should take advantage of this at this point. You know, it kind of throws off the line. Boquist is going up from the fourth line to the first line now, so that kind of throws that off. Obviously, still a tough opponent and a great player. Obviously, he plays in the NHL, so you know, you have to be wary of that. But it's not the same first line, right? So they have to take advantage of that matchup, especially on home ice. So it's going to be interesting to watch. And now, I mean, one Leaf was thrown, you know, injured because of a hit from a Florida Panther earlier in the series, and then now OEL takes out Evan Rodriguez as well. So things are getting spicy as we head into the second half of this series.
Yeah, let's not forget quickly before I wrap up. There's the William Nylander, Matthew Tkachuk thing that's going to be happening tonight. There's now the fact that OEL injured Evan Rodriguez, which I still don't think was a crazy dirty hit, but it's unfortunate that he got hurt. This is going to be crazy. We'll keep you up to date like we always do. We had a bit of a breaking news bomb mid-recording here, so let us know down below what your thoughts are on all this stuff. We'll see you guys later tonight.